Welcome to the Jamesburg Presbyterian Church. Today is September the 22nd, 2020. It's good to have all of you watching. Those of you who are here in the church, I'm glad to have you here too. And I'm glad to have the YouTube audience. Today we're taking a look at Ruth chapter 3. And if you're into the prudish element of life, today's not the right day for you. I'm going to be referring to my notes more often because, like that Aerosmith song, I don't want to miss a thing. Today, in the Hebrew text, the words are so much clearer, and when people translate, sometimes we're having to fix the translation from Hebrew to English so that a general audience can read and enjoy and appreciate. However, sometimes we miss some of the meaning, some of the double entendre that exists in the original text. This chapter 3 is a naughty chapter, and so we'll start with that. There are two words that the text is going to deal with a great deal. The first word is geal, which means to recover. It means to redeem. It means to get back. The other word is gelah, which means to uncover. You can uncover something as in you've uncovered a crime, you've uncovered the truth, or you've uncovered a person. Something else that's going to happen, we're going to work with the word to know. We know that to know means something having to do with knowledge, but it also has the biblical euphemism of sexuality. To know in the biblical sense, we sometimes say. To lie down can mean to lie down, or it can have that biblical sense, if you will. There's a place in which we're going to be talking about taking someone under their wings. What does that mean? We can have the image of protection, mother hen gathering up her brood and putting the brood under her wings, or it can also mean taking a person under your protection. How would you do that? Maybe through marriage, maybe through promises. There are different ways in which that can be done. And then we're going to be dealing with another biblical euphemism, and that is the word for feet. F-E-E-T, as in put my shoe on my foot. That word can also mean private parts. So, when all these terms that have double entendres are used in the same chapter, it means for us to think about two possible meanings: the superficial, that will make us all feel good, or the more the deeper meaning, which will tend to be a bit more risque. Not more risque, it will be risque. So we're going to be dealing with this. To recount, in chapter 1, we encounter Naomi and her family. The family moves from Bethlehem to the land of Moab. There her sons meet Moabite women. They're married. First the father dies, then her oldest son dies, then her youngest son dies. Now it's 3 widows living together. Naomi hears that things have gotten good back in the house of bread, that is Bethlehem, and so she determines to move back. She encourages both of her daughter-in-laws to go home. If you go home, you will have a chance at establishing a new life, starting all over, reinventing yourself, becoming a wife, becoming a mother. Orpah, one of the daughter-in-laws, agrees and returns home to her family. Ruth, however, refuses. And that chapter ends by telling us that Naomi, at this point, either no longer brings up the topic to Ruth about returning home, or no longer talks to Ruth. One of the two. I prefer the latter over the former, that Naomi just shuts down and no longer talks to Ruth. In chapter 2, we find out that Ruth is wanting to help herself and her mother-in-law by going out into the fields and gleaning. She's harvesting barley. We meet a new character whose name is Boaz. We learn that Boaz is related to the family He's some sort of next of kin. We're not told exactly how that next of kin relates, or who that next of kin is. Is it a cousin? Is it a first cousin? Is it an uncle? We're just not told. But we do know that Boaz has property. He has people working for him. He has the ability to supply people with food, and he supplies Naomi and Ruth with food. Now we enter into chapter 3. The chapter starts, we can divide the chapter into 3 parts. The first part is chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. And Naomi now has changed her tune. You remember in chapter 1, and this was an important detail, she stopped talking to Ruth. Here, finally, and she also refers to Ruth when she does as the Moabite woman. Now she says to Ruth, my daughter. She's owning Ruth. She's recognizing how Ruth has helped her. She is owning her as a daughter. She's no longer the Moabite woman. She's no longer somebody to ignore. She's somebody that she wants to help. And Naomi says, I should try to find a home for you. So they devise a plan, and the plan is this, and it's deceptive. It is what it is. The plan is this. It's the time of the harvest. It's the time of going down to the threshing floor. And at this place in time, the grain is separated from the chaff, from the stuff that you don't want. And I guess it was the custom when you were finished with this job that you would eat, drink, and be merry. And what they're hoping is that Boaz will be there. He will eat, drink, and be merry. And when he has finished eating and drinking, that he will actually lie down and sleep at the threshing floor. What we're told is Naomi says to Ruth, when you see him lie down, then go to him, uncover his feet, and lie down beside him. But don't do that until after he has finished drinking and he lies down. And do not show yourself to him until that time comes. So this is the plan. We're not told exactly how this plan will work at this point in the first 7 verses, but we're told that this is the plan. Naomi also tells Ruth to get yourself prettied up, put on perfume, wash yourself, put on your best clothing. This could mean it could mean 2 things. First, it could mean that the time of mourning the death of your husband is over. We're done with that. We're now ready to move on to the next chapter in your life. The second part of this has to do with making yourself attractive to this man Boaz. We also know from other places that this uncovering the feet and lying down has a double meaning. It could mean simply going over, taking the blanket off of the guy's feet, laying down beside him, and it could be that. Or it could have that double entendre meaning, the meaning of expose him and lie down next to him. The word for sleep also has, even in the English connotations, has that double meaning. Sometimes when we're very, very tired, we're just going to sleep. But there are other times when the word sleep has an additional meaning, and we'll just leave it at that. So this is the plan. And the word that is used is gala, which means to remove. Remove the blanket. Remove that part of the clothing to expose. All right, so Naomi does this. She goes to the threshing floor, and this is in verses 8 through 13. She goes to the threshing floor, and we're told it's in the middle of the night. And Naomi has done exactly what Ruth has done exactly what Naomi has told him. Something happens in the middle of the night, And the man is awakened, and he realizes that he's not by himself, that there's a woman laying next to him, and he says, "Who are you?" And Ruth says, "I am your servant Ruth." And she asks him to spread the corner of your garment over me. Now, spreading the corner of your garment, spreading out your wings, can mean several things. It could mean, I'm cold, and could you give me some blanket? Or it could mean, can you spread out your protection over me? Or it could mean, do the right thing and marry me. We're not exactly told at this point in time what her intentions are, but he replies, "You have shown me hesed." This is a blessing. This is great kindness. It's more than kindness. And he says, you could have chased after any of the younger men, rich or poor. You could have done that, but instead you are here with me. And he says to her, all of the people in town know what a wonderful person you are. They know how noble you are. They know that you are a kind and good person. They know what you've done for your mother-in-law, Naomi. He says, so stay here, and in the morning you can leave. He said, now, there is a person that's more closely related to your family than me. So he has the right to make a decision first about redeeming you. I will go to him and find out what his intentions are. And if he does not want anything to do with this, then I will step up and redeem you. And he swears this in the name of God. But he says, lie here until the morning. And part of that has to do with her reputation. He doesn't want her out in the middle of the night walking around. But as the day starts to break, before people start getting up, she'll return home, and that way her reputation is preserved. In the notes, the spreading the cloak or spreading the corner of his garment or spreading the wings, as I said, has to do with protection, but it also has a sexual overtone. And we see this in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 27, verse 20, and in Ezekiel, chapter 16, verse 8, where spreading wings over somebody has to do with intimate relationship. So when she asks this question, will you spread your wings over me? She may be proposing marriage. She may be proposing something as simple as taking care of me and Naomi, or she may be proposing a romantic relationship. So it's more than just marriage. It's a romance. He has not been. There's no confusion in Boaz's mind about what comes next. As a matter of fact, we've gotten the impression in chapter 2 that he is very interested in Ruth. Here we see that interest growing. He is completely amazed that she has chosen him, an older man. Now, what would be an older man back in those days? Maybe somebody in their 20s? I don't know. He's not in his 50s, for sure. And 50 by our standards is not very old anymore. But she could have gone after a much younger man. She has, in fact, placed herself with him. So Boaz has now revealed to her that there's somebody closer and that he will begin a process. And we're going to see in chapter 4 what that process is. He will begin a process in which he will force the issue of people doing the right thing. Remember, from the very beginning, I told you this was about a story about family doing the right thing. And the question that's raised here is, who is the family? Certainly, Ruth has proved to be a better daughter to Naomi than anybody that lives in Bethlehem has proved to be family to Naomi. Ruth has stayed by Naomi's side, provided for her, and is now also changing the future for both of them. So this kindness that Ruth has shown, the hesed that Ruth has shown, has been both to Boaz and to Naomi. So Boaz acknowledges that Ruth is well thought of in this community of Bethlehem, and in that concession, he is probably acknowledging that marriage is not an impossibility, even though she's a Moabite woman. In the last part of this chapter, verses 14 through 18, she stayed with him until morning, got up before anybody could be recognized. That means that just as the day is breaking, and he said to her, "Do not let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor." He also asks her to bring him her shawl. He loads the shawl up with 6 measures of barley. This 6 measures of barley is a heavily debated and talked about detail in this story. I'll get to that in just a moment. And then she goes home. Naomi says to her, it usually gets translated, "How are you doing?" But actually what she asks is, "Who are you now?" In other words, has your circumstances changed? Have things changed in your life? Are you now engaged? So in the English translation I have, it says, "How did it go, my daughter?" But that is not what the Hebrew says. Ruth explains to Naomi all that has happened, and Naomi says, "Then watch what happens next. He will settle this whole matter for us." Just some of the details. The 6 barleys, in the Hebrew, it makes it 6 barleys. So is that 6 barley seeds? Is that 6 baskets of barley? Is it 6 measures of barley? We're not told for sure. It's just 6 barleys. This could be a number of things. It could be a way of confirming the pledge. They didn't give diamond rings from Jared back in those days, but you could give gifts of food to cement a relationship, to cement a promise, or to buy silence. Is he buying silence here? Naomi, don't discuss this with anybody. Here's some barley. We're not really told what the barley represents, and as I said, it's been discussed over and over again. Does the barley seeds, if it's 6 barley seeds, which we would find to be preposterous, but do these symbolically mean that Boaz will restore Elimelech's line? The seed represents the future. It represents a heritage. It represents descendants. Each of those seeds could mean that. So what is it that he has actually given? Naomi's question, as I said, is literally, "Who are you now, my daughter?" And Naomi is not, she obviously knows it's Ruth, so she's not asking, who is in my house? But she's asking for, has your circumstance changed? Have things changed overnight? And this interpretation is justified by the observation that Ruth replies to Naomi's question by telling her all that the man had done for her. Clearly, she's not walked away empty-handed. She has something to give to Naomi, and that is the barley and the pledge that Boaz will settle the matter immediately. And we're going to see that happen. A commentary that I read on this said that, oftentimes we want to read a prudish version of this story. We want to assume that everybody was good that night, according to our standards. But that actually robs the story of its deeper intent, of its deeper meaning. And I think that when we consider the other possibilities, the meaning of the double meaning of the words, that we're actually doing the story service. The Bible is a pragmatic book. It's not a book about saints. It's a book about people. It's a book about people who have flaws. It's a book about people who are in love. It's a book about being real. And certainly we see these two people being real. There's another aspect to all of this, and again, it comes out of another story, but there's another aspect of all of this, and that is doing the right thing. Did the people in Bethlehem do the right thing for Ruth and Naomi? One of the things that should have been done, according to Jewish law, was providing Naomi and Ruth with descendants. You can't do that without a husband. So far, nobody has stepped up. You remember that in Genesis chapter 38, a woman by the name of Tamar has a father-in-law whose name is Judah. Tamar, her husband, has died, and Judah refuses to give her another husband, and there's this law called Levirate marriage. So Tamar goes to the threshing floor, disguises herself as a prostitute, and gets Judah to impregnate her. When he confronts her about being pregnant, not realizing that he's the father of that child, she has stolen from him his signet ring and is able to provide him his ring as proof that he is the father. And then he realizes that she has forced him to do the right thing according to Jewish law. So this whole business about how deceiving someone to get justice is not a new concept in the Old Testament. The word hesed is used. This has to do with incredible, undeserved kindness and love. It's the kind of love that God has for us. None of us deserve to be loved, but God gives us hesed, and hesed is a very important theological concept, theological word. So that's how chapter 3 ends today. It has ended with Ruth and Boaz having an encounter where we're left. We're at this point in time, we know that there's a promise, there's a pledge, but we don't really know exactly what that other near kinsman will do. We're going to find that out in chapter 4. So next week, we'll be back to our 12 o'clock time. We'll be doing our 12 o'clock time on Tuesday. We'll consider the final chapter of the book of Ruth, and then I'll suggest a new book that we'll take a look at in the weeks to come. Thank you very much for viewing today. I've been having a blast doing Ruth. I hope you are enjoying it too. Good. God bless you. Tomorrow, tune in at noon for our devotional. I think I have a good one for you. Bye now.